Hi, I'm coming at you tonight during a time where everybody is fearful of coronavirus. So, the topic today isn't specifically related to corona, but it is related to the aftermath. People are going to experience what we call PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. And you're going to find an increase of people who suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, germophobia, even more impacted in the aftermath of COVID-19. People have a hard time understanding that everybody experiences trauma at a different level. I might experience an event that happens to me as trauma, you may not. And, it kind of frustrates me when I see people on the computer in debate of whether whose trauma was worse. Listen, it doesn't matter. Someone may experience trauma at a much higher level of the event than another person with the same exact event may have mild traumatic experiences. So I want everybody to stop kind of getting in that competition mode. But today I'm just going to talk about why this happens. When we experience trauma, there's something in our brain that changes. We develop what we call unhealthy coping strategies or techniques. They could be anger, denial, projection. There is a list of them. So what happens then is we use these unhealthy methods and they become part of our wiring of our brain. It's rewired. And then what happens is after our event, I'm going to use my personal experience, is when I experienced 9/11 and I was having nightmares of planes crashing into buildings, and people would tell me, oh, come on, get over it. It's 8 years later. Get real. That continues to support that dysfunctional thinking because you are fearful of judgment. So what happens is you bury it deeper. You bury the trauma deeper. You don't want to deal with it because you're fear of that judgment. So it keeps those pathways of that rewiring of your brain going from when you first experienced it. The same with someone who is sexually assaulted. That person may, what we call, put it in the back of their head. And one of the coping skills that some people use when they've been raped or sexually assaulted is they disassociate. It can even go as far as when they're having intercourse with somebody, they view themselves almost, as I can explain, like an outer body experience, like they're just letting it happen. And those are some of the defenses, and we cannot enjoy life. We have rewired our brain to cope with the disaster or the trauma that has happened, the distress that has happened to our body. Because our brain, and I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but there are sections of the brain I talk about in my book, because I specifically have been writing a book in regards to post-traumatic stress disorder, going by the trauma I've experienced and helping people understand what it is and how it affects you through your life and how you need to change your thinking. And you know how we read things, and I'm going to use a typical thing that's been used. When we tell children when they're younger that, oh, just get over it, or don't be a crybaby. We are teaching and wiring children not to express and feel emotion. That's one of the things that when we talk to parents who emotionally abuse or verbally abuse children that call them losers, you become what you've been told. It goes back into my positive thinking and positive, what you say, you talk it into existence. So if you continue to tell a child that they're not worth it or they're losers, they become what you tell them they are with that labeling. It all kinds of goes into that vicious cycle. So when you rewire your brain, if somebody doesn't come in like myself or somebody who's trained to help you focus and rewire it, you treat every situation with the same brain as you would treat a trauma. You've never really gotten over it. And people around you don't understand. And it's not that they don't want to understand. There may be somebody who doesn't. But mostly your loved ones around you, they don't know how to understand that. They're going to tell you just get over it because it's uncomfortable for them to hear that their loved one, the person that they loved, had been through such a traumatic event. That's why I always say seek a professional, seek maybe a minister, a chaplain, marriage counselor, anybody, even a life coach, somebody who can help you get over and think more positive and move into the future. But it does take the retraining of what's been wired in your brain from the time of your trauma. And like I said, I have done a book on it, and you can always talk to me about it. But my suggestion is, if you want to grow and you want to get over and you want to learn things and you want to do better and you've been through trauma, you need to face it, accept it, and begin working on it, because it could be the very thing that's holding you back. And these cognitive distortions that you have learned through your trauma, you're going to use in other areas of your life. And they're going to be very debilitating. And people are going to notice, and they can affect your relationships with your coworkers, your loved ones, your significant other, and your children. And then it could become a pattern that you're passing down to your children. And it could be a very vicious cycle. So if you would like to talk more to me about PTSD, if you'd like to talk more to me about my book, I am giving a free coaching session. And I would encourage you guys to do that. Speak with somebody who knows about it. I'm writing about it. I've lived it myself. I've overcome it myself. I've actually gone through a trauma program called the Mosaic program that speaks specifically on overcoming trauma. I want you to reach out, and I want you to ask for help, because I want everybody to do positive, especially during this time. I want you guys to please stay safe during this time. Keep your heads up, walk in hope, and don't ever, ever give up or give in to your trauma. Have a good night.